The Breaking Bad anime is coming. Yeah, that's right, Breaking Bad. The funny meme show, one of the greatest shows in television history, if not the best, is becoming anime. Now you're probably wondering, Breaking Bad anime? Jesse, what the f are you talking about? Well, I'm talking about My Home Hero, a psychological/crime thriller anime coming out this April. And yes, I know, this is not Breaking Bad. But, as someone who's caught up to the manga, there are a lot of similarities between it and Breaking Bad. In fact, I guarantee that if you love Breaking Bad, you're bound to love My Home Hero. I mean, just stop me when this doesn't sound familiar. A middle-aged, emasculated man accustomed to domestic life with a mundane job gets sucked into the criminal underworld. He then struggles to keep his humanity intact while surviving the criminals around him and keeping the criminal life separate from his domestic life. For him, family is everything. He also uses skills from his personal life that would ordinarily be seen as mundane to keep himself one step ahead of the gangsters and threats to his life.
Yes, science!
And on top of that, he uses his image as a harmless, sheepish man to deceive those around him. As he descends further into the world of organized crime, he is accompanied by a man young enough to be his son, who is already living his life as a lawbreaker with experience and connections. The two strike up an uneasy, tension-filled, arguably toxic partnership. Ultimately, the main character has to deal with erratic, unpredictable crime bosses, gang wars, criminal politics, the police, and their ever-increasing legal investigations around his crimes and more. I just described Breaking Bad to you, but I also described My Home Hero to you. And it's not just the premise of the series that is similar to Breaking Bad either. Take the characters for example. We all know Walter White, but what's the name of My Home Hero's MC? Well, his name is Tosu Tetsuo. They even share the alliteration in not just their names, but the series names too. And like I described earlier, the setup for their characters is extremely similar. What about another character, Kubo, an older, grizzled veteran hitman with a no-nonsense attitude who is extremely professional and only really gets pissed at overly emotional, incompetent criminals? He's basically the go-to security/hitman for the main crime boss and is essentially his right-hand man. Bro, come on, this is anime Mike Ehrmantraut. What about Yoshitatsu Matori, a well-spoken, well-connected crime boss with a business-minded attitude and an air of professionalism, yet also has bursts of irrational violence and a hint of sadism? You take Tuco and Gus Fring, make them do the fusion dance, and you're gonna get this guy. How about Hank Schrader?
You're watching too much
a man on the side of the law, obsessively investigating the crimes that lead to the protagonist, who can be unorthodox and lead breakthrough progress on cases, but is not the best person with his jarring personality, recklessness towards people he sees as criminals, and alienating the people around him at times. Yeah, My Home Hero has a character like that too. There's also the younger criminal that the MC partners with, which many will without a doubt see as a Jesse parallel in the series, as well as the MC's wife, Kasen, whose arc in relation to the criminal underworld will definitely be compared to Skyler. Except this woman is a definition of best wife who doesn't go cheating like Skyler did and is base as fuck, trust me. All in all, like Breaking Bad, the characters in My Home Hero all have their own distinct personalities, motivations, strengths, weaknesses, and all interact in a way that makes sense, coming together perfectly for the overall narrative. And speaking of, narratively, the two also share a lot. My Home Hero hits a lot of similar plot beats and situations that Breaking Bad also features. Love how Breaking Bad had that constant tension as a result of the cat and mouse game between characters, had deception, mind games, and the shifting power dynamics throughout the series. Check. My Home Hero has that too. How about that one scene with Walt meeting Jane's father at a bar, talking about their own children and the importance of family, which is made darkly ironic due to how their fates are linked. Check. My Home Hero has a version of that in its story as well. Various gang factions, power struggles, and wars between different organizations? Check. Characters using technical knowledge from their personal life to escape sticky situations? Check. Bathtub body dissolving parties? Check. Crawl space moments that many see as pivotal character development sections? Check and check. But let's slow down a moment. I've been listing a lot of similarities between these two, which might make it seem like this is some anime ripping off Breaking Bad.
You already ape my product at every turn.
However, that couldn't be farther from the truth. Despite its many similarities, My Home Hero is still extremely unique and engaging. It departs from its similarities with Breaking Bad in many ways as the story goes on, almost as if it was using the TV show as a kind of template or foundational inspiration. I mean, looking at the characters, this is made more apparent. We all know Walter White gets into the criminal underworld by selling crystal meth to provide for his family. For My Home Hero, Tosu Tetsuo gets into the criminal underworld by killing his daughter's boyfriend, who turned out to be a Yakuza member, using her, and also had a history of beating his girlfriends to death. Yeah, I would've murked his ass too. Heisenberg uses his chemistry knowledge to one-up his enemies, whereas Tetsuo uses his decades of experience writing mystery novels to his advantage. So instead of MacGyvering robots, Tetsuo is putting his knowledge of getting away with crimes, such as body disposal and social manipulation, to good use. Koyoichi, the young criminal that accompanies Tetsuo, is extremely smart and much more intelligent than Jesse. He also already has a decent position within the Yakuza and is well respected, as opposed to Jesse being a small fry, and to top it off, he's much more ruthless than Jesse. Kubo is very similar to Mike, but as the story develops, there's a side of him that gets shown that I don't think Mike ever had. And Tetsuo's child, Raika, also becomes increasingly involved in the story and grows as a character in a completely different way than Walt Jr. ever did.
It's Walt Jr., but you can call me MC Flint. My favorite meal is when the day begins.
While Walt Jr. was completely divorced from the criminal world, Raika actually becomes fairly involved without even knowing it. It's super interesting, and I actually really disliked her character at first, but the writer has done a great job fleshing her out. Furthermore, even the similarities with Breaking Bad that My Home Hero has in its story, such as the similar plot beats I mentioned, have a completely different context, either taking place at a different point in its story chronologically, having different consequences, or different circumstances behind character actions. For example, since Breaking Bad takes place in America and My Home Hero in Japan, the difference in each country's laws significantly impacts the plot and what characters are able to do. Walt gets a gun illegally in the show, but since Japan's gun laws are much more strict and it's harder to get a firearm, Tetsuo doesn't get his hands on a gun regardless of legality. Similarly, while there are cartels in Breaking Bad, in My Home Hero, it's the Yakuza. While both the cartel and Yakuza are gangs, the way they're organized and function in their societies, their relation to the law and political system are both fairly different. And by that I mean the cartel is gonna behead you with a dull razor blade, whereas a Yakuza is just gonna shoot you. The difference in gang dynamics creates unique situations that you don't see in Breaking Bad, and that's because ultimately, the setting of Japan is radically different from the neo-western desert setting in Breaking Bad. Also, currently, there are 2 parts of My Home Hero, with the second part still being translated by teams online. The second part is where a certain plot element is introduced that really sets My Home Hero apart from Breaking Bad, in that it involves a large cult faction. Yeah, you heard me right, there's cults in the series. Now, I won't say too much as I think you should read it yourself after the anime comes out, since I think the anime is only gonna cover part 1. But it's unlike anything you've ever seen in Breaking Bad, and even in most manga I've read, I haven't seen anything like this before. So you got the Yakuza, cults, the police, and Tetsuo's family and the struggle, and man, personally, I find part 2 in this current cult arc to be the best part of the series so far. It's that good. I mean, if you're caught up, like chapter 124 was crazy good. The series for me is sitting at like a 9 out of 10 currently. So don't sleep on My Home Hero. Watch the anime, support it when it comes out in April, go read it, or both. And if you like Breaking Bad, you owe it to yourself to check this series out. And that's it. Like and subscribe if you liked the video, and I promise you I'll call off the cartel and Yakuza approaching your house right now.